Hello, my name is Chloe. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my February wrap up. So February was such a better month for me. I am finally getting on track with reading 200 books this year. Sorry if my voice keeps breaking a little bit. I'm not sure what's happening. I really hope I'm not getting sick. It's just cracking. So I'm finally getting on track. I read 18 books in February, which is where I need to be every month, really making me feel quite positive about what my reading year has in store. And I read 18 books in the shortest month. So hopefully this means good things are to come and I'm going to be on track with my goals. So those 18 books made up a total of 6,068 pages, which is, it's a lot. It's a lot. It probably could be more, but it's a lot because that comes out at an average of 337 pages a book, which of the books I was reading, it was clear that on average, they were quite typical size contemporary length. Like, I know what I mean. My ratings were pretty solid this month. I had an average rating of 3.6 stars and I had nothing under a 3. So I had 10 3-star reads, 1 3.5 star, 2 4 stars, 3 4.5 stars and 2 5 stars. I am quite a harsh reviewer on the highest ratings and I knew a lot of these books were going to be 3 stars going in due to different readathons I was doing, so I knew it was the case and I'm proud to have still read 18 books, even though only 2 of them were 5 stars. I read 11 physical books and 7 audiobooks. Audio really helped me this month. And I read an average of 217 pages per day. So let's get going. I'm going to start from 3 stars and work it up to 5 because there are 18 books to talk about and I don't really want this wrap up to be longer than 15 minutes. So I'm going to keep it quite brief. And if you have any more questions on any of the books, please do reach out to me down in the comments and I would be happy to answer them. I just don't want to bore everyone to tears. So first up, I gave 3 stars to Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway. I was quite sad about this one. It's been on my TBR for the longest time. I'm gonna say since at least 2018, and I didn't love it that much. I read Far From the Tree by Robin Benway and it was one of the most emotional books I'd ever read, so I thought it was going to be the same with Emmy and Oliver, but sadly not. This is about, obviously, Emmy and Oliver, who are best friends when they're children, but Oliver is kidnapped by his dad, and however many years later, I want to say at least 10 years later, he is returned, but he's come back as kind of this new person. Obviously, he's grown up away from everything he knows, so he's a little bit different than when he left. And this is all about them remaking their friendship on his return, what they've missed out on of each other, that kind of vibe. And I liked it. It was okay. I'm going to try not to say fine too many times in this video. It was okay. I just didn't get anything crazy emotional out of it, which is what I was expecting on the subject matter. I wouldn't not recommend it, but I'm also not forcing this into anyone's hands, so do with that what you will. I then read, this was a buddy read with Victoria. I'm not sure I've settled on this rating, but I have for now. It's Bunny by Mona Awad. I didn't get it, so I gave it 3 stars. It was a very interesting experience. I liked buddy reading it with Victoria, but if I wasn't buddy reading it with Victoria, I may have DNF'd it because I still don't really know what happened. And I feel like no one ever explains what this book is about, which is maybe why I went into it with misconceptions. I think the key thing to know about this book is that it's magical realism. So I spent 350 odd pages trying to find a deeper metaphor, and there wasn't a metaphor. It was what it said it was, which made no sense. So yeah, this book makes no sense, like everyone says. I do agree with that judgment. Victoria loved it. I loved reading with Victoria. I'm glad I've given it a go, but not my thing. Next up, I listened to the Sunday Lunch Club by Julia Ashton on audiobook. I picked this one up because it was available, it looked interesting, and I gave it a go. Obviously, we're still in the 3-star section. This was fine. I'm gonna laugh every time I say fine. If you've not been around on my channel for a while, just ignore me. It was just okay. It was an interesting look at family relationships. So this was about a family who every Sunday they go to a different family member's house, flat, wherever they're living, for lunch and they catch each other up on their lives, and we follow our characters over a period of about 9 months, and yeah, it was okay. Again, I'm not screaming from the rooftops about it, but it was kind of sweet and it was really moving at times, so there's that one. Next up, I started a reread of a very fun series, if I do say so myself. I read Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon and I gave it 3 stars, which is what I've always rated this book, and I'd say it's quite accurate. This is a alien romance series where the characters end up on an alien planet and start relationships with giant blue aliens. It's quite descriptive, it's not for the faint-hearted, and it's just a kind of fun time. So even though it's really nothing profound, like, I can't give it more than 3 because what even is it? What am I reading? What am I putting myself through? But it's a good time, so 3 stars. And similarly, I read Barbarian Alien, which is book number 2 in the Planet Barbarians. I should say I did both of these on audio, and this continues with another girl from the kidnapped girls and another alien from the big group of blue aliens. And the story is exactly what you'd expect. This one we're following Liz and, oh, I don't know how you say them when I read them. Rahoosh. Literally, 12 humans are left stranded on a wintry alien planet. I'm one of them. Yay me. Take that vibe, put it into a romance with big blue aliens. 3 stars. Next up, I read If I Disappear by Elijah Jane Brazier, which I did read physically, but I wrapped up the book to give to my mother-in-law, and I gave this 3 stars, obviously. This is one that I should have DNF'd, not for the book's rating, so I gave it 3 stars in the end because the ending was really good. The final 50 pages of this book were great, and I really wish I would have read the whole book in one sitting. So I read 75 pages of it on the train and it was kind of okay, and then it was a real slog to get through the rest of it. But the ending I loved. Perfect. Like 10 out of 10. Okay, maybe not, but like 7 out of 10. The rest of the book was a slog, and I feel like it's misbranded as a thriller. It's more of a suspense, and the pacing was very, very slow. But the ending was good. So 3 stars. I've been talking too long about these. We're already on like 9 minutes. Next up, I read What a Shame by Abigail Bergstrom, which was a tandem read along, and this one was fine. So this book did make me feel slightly unintelligent in the way it was written, because it was written in a very clever way, and that often goes over my head. I need very simple writing styles to appeal to me. So it was quite a different writing style, but this whole book is about a woman who is learning how to grieve, that being both death and the ending of a relationship. And it's one of those woman in her mid-20s coming to terms with life and growing as a person. And yeah, it was fine, didn't knock my socks off, and obviously thank you again to Tandem for having me as part of the read along, but not my next favourite thing, but it was okay. Next up, I read Stalked by the Kraken by Lillian Lark, and this was so awful. I gave it 3 stars and I loved it at the same time. This is about a witch who runs a bathhouse, and a Kraken man comes along, and it's graphic. I'm trying not to say the words in my tame wrap up. Tentacles, witchy magic, bit of romance. It was awful. I will be unhauling it. I do not need to keep this on my shelves forever, because I'm never gonna, oh, do I keep it? I don't know. No, I don't need to keep it. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I had this experience. Do I want this experience again? No. But I'm happy I could read it once. Next up, I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which I actually listened to the audiobook, and sadly, I didn't love this. 3 stars for me is very hit or miss. Like, a 3-star monster romance is good-ish, and a 3-star thriller probably isn't that great. Rating systems are hard, okay? So this one is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so I won't say too much about the actual story, but we're following Pip, who was our main character in book 1, and one of her friends' siblings has gone missing, and she is trying to find out what has happened to them. I didn't really care too much about this individual that had gone missing. which I guess is harder because in the first book we have no attachment to the whole murder. This one was supposed to be attached to the person who's gone missing, and I didn't really feel anything. And then I felt like the reveal at the end, I just didn't care. So maybe it's a me problem, but I didn't like this one as much, and it has brought me to the decision to unhaul the series. I will read book 3, but this one's on the way out, which is odd to me. And my final 3-star was another audiobook, and that was Labor Day by Joyce Maynard. This, I just wanted to read another book by the end of the month, so picked up an audiobook while I was at work, and it's an exploration of a young boy who's kind of coming to terms with himself as a teenage boy and noticing girls and things like that. And there is also an escaped prisoner who his mom ends up harboring, is that the word? Like taking him in and creating this family life. The whole book is set around the kind of premise of Labor Day weekend. I don't really understand that as an American holiday, but here we are. And I believe the actual story only takes place over 6 days, but it was just interesting. It was an interesting concept of what you would do if you were raised by a single mother and then she brings in a male prisoner and makes you act like a family. Interesting. 3 stars. Okay, this is definitely going to closer to 20 minutes. The 3.5-star book I read was Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon, and this is book 3 in the Planet Barbarian series. I think I counted this as a physical book. I did it half and half. This one I actually liked way more than the rest. I felt like it was much more realistic, which I don't even know how I can say that. But this follows what's-her-face, Kira. And as the 3rd Planet Barbarians book, they had to do kind of something a little bit different. And Kira is much less willing to be mated to a giant blue alien, and I felt like it made it a much better story, much more like personal empowerment with an alien hanging on the side, and I gave it 3.5 stars. This is my favourite so far. I haven't read number 4 yet. That is the end of the Ice Planet books in this whole wrap up, but yeah, this was my favourite so far. Next, 4-star reads, I listened to the audiobook of Cults by Max Cutler, and I will definitely be recommending this one. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I listened to the audiobook, gave it 4 stars. It is an exploration of, it has a subtitle, which will explain the book way easier than I can. The full title of the book is Cults: Inside the World's Most Notorious Groups and Understanding the People Who Joined Them. And I felt like it was just true crime done very well, because we had a slight look at lots of different cults. I feel like if you have a 12-hour audiobook that's focusing on one non-fiction thing, one event, it can get quite boring, I won't lie. But to have different cults dropped in, different periods in history, different countries, it was really, really interesting. And as true crime non-fiction, I would thoroughly, highly recommend it. And I have another one on my radar that's similar to this, so I will let you know when I've read it. But yeah, would thoroughly recommend this if you're interested in learning about cults. The other 4-star book I read was Killjoy by Holly Jackson, which is this teeny tiny World Book Day book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I liked this more than Good Girl Bad Blood. It is tiny. I did listen to the audiobook and kind of dipped in when there were physical clues, because they are printed in the book. And this is a murder mystery party with the characters from the series, and I won't say more about that because I mean it's this big, so what more is there to say? Really enjoyed it, really liked the twist at the end, really liked the character kind of development in this. So it's a prequel, but we do obviously know the characters already from book 1, so it was interesting to see how we could form our opinions of these characters in this teeny tiny little book. I really did like it. Next up, 4.5 stars. The first one is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. So I've heard lots of people say this is their favourite Brown Sisters book. I would say right now it's very on par with Chloe Brown, which is book number 1. This is number 2. Obviously following Danny, who is a PhD student. Yes, and she meets Zaf, who is an ex-rugby player, and he is the security guard of the building. One thing leads to another. They end up fake dating, and obviously feelings are caught. Really enjoyed it. I read this as part of Victoria's Sister Along, so I will link the live show that they're doing. I don't know if it's happened by the time I'm posting this video. Either way, I will link it below so you can go and check it out, because I'm not in that one. But I did read this book for the read along, and I liked it. I'm glad I read it, and I'm excited for Eve. Next up, My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. Again, this is already wrapped up for the mother-in-law. I loved this. I read it physically, 4.5 stars, clearly. It was so predictable, but the way it was told, I don't know what it is about Samantha Downing's writing, that even though every time there was a reveal, it was so obvious, I'd guessed it 50 pages before, the way it was told was really, really keeping me hooked. So I took this one away with me to Cardiff, and I was wandering around the town, trying to do some shopping, trying to look in a museum, trying to find somewhere nice for lunch. And the whole time I was thinking about where I could sit and read my book. Meaning, I was going to a concert, and I factored in how long I could read my book before I had to leave. So, really enjoyed this. I think she will too. I don't know if I'd recommend it because it was so predictable, but I really, really liked the writing. I do have another of this author's book, so I'll see if that trend continues. What I should actually say is this is about a couple who they're happily married, and then one day they decide their new thing is killing women together. Very interesting, really liked it. Next up, we have The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, which I gave 4.5 stars. I really liked this. I have not yet seen the movie, but this is about Lucy and Josh, and they are kind of competing personal assistants in a publishing house. So there's been a merger, and Lucy is the one company's PA, one company CEO PA, and Josh is the other company's. And they are constantly sat opposite each other, playing games, competing, and they hate each other. Until, obviously, they don't. And I won't say more than that because it's clear what this kind of book is about. I really enjoyed it. It would have been 5 stars if the ending was more rounded off, because I felt like it just left something to be desired. But 4.5 stars, I'll be keeping this one and watching the movie as soon as possible. Next up, my 5-star read, so let's see if we can get these done very quickly. The first one I have is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and surprise, surprise, I don't know how this got so high up on my list. This was so much fun. This was my Patreon buddy read for the month, and a lot of us had such a good time with it. So this is about Rowan and Zara. Rowan is the kind of heir to Dreamland, which is... it's basically Disneyland, like, let's not get this wrong. And his granddad has died and left him in charge of proving that he can turn Dreamland around. And when he does so, he will inherit whatever he's left. Zara works at the company, and she is just a problem. She's trouble, she's late, and she's convinced that the direction the company is going is not the way it should be. It's not best for the company. Zara and Rowan end up teaming up somehow to try and improve the park, and I really liked it. I really, really liked it. It is a haters but did they ever really hate each other, lovers, like haters but did they ever really hate each other to lovers romance. And yeah, I really want to read the rest of the series. There were definitely too many epilogues, too many extra little things, but at this point I don't care. I needed all the content, and I'll be reading the second one soon. I've overrun on my time, I'm so mad, but and I've left it for the best book. My favourite book of the month, by far, was Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. I can't even defend this choice, because it's not that great. But I felt things, and when I feel things this strongly about a book, they have to be my favourite. So this is the first book in the Bargainers series, and this follows a young girl, Callie, that's it, who has made deals with the Bargainer historically. She's made 300 or so deals, and the Bargainer is known as this entity. It's actually a fey king, but like an entity that will grant your wishes, do what you need to do, and then you owe him a bargain. And these are normally quite brutal things. But Callie has racked up so many debts, and she hasn't been asked to pay them off until one day the Bargainer shows up and says that it's time to start paying them off. The sexual tension is amazing. The flashbacks to teenage Callie with the Bargainer, I just loved it. I loved it so much, and I am on the lookout for the rest of the series in this edition because I just want all the pretty books. So happy to have read this. Completely did not think I'd love it this much, And yeah, I don't know why else. Just read it. If you have it, read it, because I was putting it off for some crazy reason. Stop putting it off, just read it, it's really good. And there we have it. Those are all of the books I read in February. I had a really good month. I'm very happy with my reading, and let's hope it continues on to next month. So the question I'm leaving you with is, what was your favorite book this month? Please do let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And on that note, that's all I have time for today. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.